Hello, and welcome to the DeHart House podcast. My name is Alicia, and I'm your host of this crafty channel here on YouTube. It is Saturday morning, the last day in November 30th of 2024. I'm coming to you from my home in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in the greater Seattle area of Washington State. And I'm currently on Thanksgiving holiday from work, which has been a well-deserved break. So, yeah. I have a few things to share with you of items I've made in the month of November. So I have some finished objects. I have some works in progress. I have plans for December. And I just want to share all of those things with you in this episode. So the month of November has been very up and down, a huge roller coaster ride. The month started out very nice, good rhythm, good pace with weather and work. You know, that we're losing sunlight hours as we go, so of course it gets more sad and depressing as time goes on because, you know, it's 5 p.m. and pitch black outside and it's just weird. Thankfully today it's a beautifully sunny day outside, partly cloudy. I think it'll be potentially a nice day to hang up Christmas lights outside, so we'll see if we can get to that task today. I don't know why, but I'm really feeling my Invisalign trays today, so I'm wearing Invisalign to straighten out my teeth, and I don't know why, all of a sudden I really feel them. Not that it's painful, it's just now that I'm sitting down in front of the camera and wanting to speak clearly, I'm super aware of my Invisalign trays, which is very annoying, but yeah, making progress on this front as well. But yeah, I wanted to share some of the things that I finished. I finally have a month where I've finished some crafty projects. October there was nothing finished. I'm pretty sure in September that was the same. Although September was a huge food storage month, so I also garden, and I did a lot of canning in August and September, so that consumed a lot of my free time was in food preparation. Now that that season has passed, I've been able to come back to my crafts, but you know, work has been pretty demanding of my time as well. So I have finally finished some things. One of those things is a pair of socks. So I knit these out of a nice solid color, which is not something I normally do with socks. I love self-striping yarn with socks because it just is easy to have that motivation to continue through. So solid color socks are not something I knit all the time, but I feel like they work easier into wardrobes than self-striping socks. So there's a little give and take there, but I really enjoyed knitting these. It was nice to have a project that didn't require a lot of thought, because another finished object I'm going to share with you needed all of the brain space to work on. So it was a nice pairing to have. Super plain, super mindless project to go with a very mindful project. But yeah, so the yarn is from Knit Picks. It is Felici, but not a self-striping colorway, obviously. This color is called Raz, I believe, Raz, R-A-Z-Z. So I've called these my blue Raz socks. This is a fingering weight yarn, 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon, so this will easily go in the washing machine. I knit these socks for my husband Michael, and he really likes socks with 2x2 ribbing, so that's what I did. 2x2 ribbing all the way down the leg, all the way down the top of the foot, standard toe, heel flap and gusset, super easy. I did knit them top down, that's my preferred method. I use a twisted German cast on. I feel like it gives me just the perfect amount of stretch in the top of the sock without being too loosey and frilly, and it's just chef's kiss for me. So I always do that, and then Kitchener stitch the toe closed, and Kitchener stitch doesn't bother me. I actually enjoy doing it. I love how it just makes it look like plain knitting across here, totally seamless, you can't see it. Yeah, so I finished a pair of socks. I do have leftover yarn, so I used two 50-gram balls. I've got the leftovers tucked into this one label. I did not finish the entire 100 grams, obviously. So I have some left over, not enough to do a full pair of socks, but I'll find something to do with this. So this used up 310 yards out of my stash, which is good because I brought a lot into my stash, and I have a goal to use more than I bring in, and you're gonna see that I'm failing that goal. I'm hardcore failing that goal right now, so this helps. I did finish a second object in the month of November for knitting, and it's a big one. I finished a garment. So I cast this on in September. I've been working on it for a couple of months, and I finished it pretty early in the month of November, so I have been wearing it and I absolutely love it. It's wonderfully warm and super appropriate for these cold winter days. So yeah, it's finished. It has buttons, all the ends are woven in. I love it. So this is knit out of a worsted weight acrylic yarn, which I have a lot of in my stash, so I'm happy to find uses for it, like garments and blankets and hats and all kinds of things. So yeah, the yarn is, I've got white was the main color, and it looks black, but the colorway name is dark gray mix. And these are both Caron 1 pound yarns that I had purchased at Joann's, and I only have this much left of each color. So you can see the dark gray mix actually does have a more like a charcoal look to it than it just being a solid black. The white is very much just plain white. I don't know if you can see Marjorie's dog hair on here. I can totally see it in person. Marjorie is our black Labrador who's 8 years old, and I absolutely adore her, but her hair is everywhere. Yeah, so this is all I have left out of the two 1 pound skeins. So I started with 2 pounds. The pattern is something I kind of made up. So I started a different sweater first, and if you've been here the last few months, you've heard this spiel already, but my other sweater in the same kind of stitch pattern is still a work in progress. I haven't finished it yet. But I started the other one first, and then I used it as a guide. It's in fingering weight. This is in worsted weight. So I modified the stitch counts and things, but I had measured my gauge and adjusted the number of stitches so I could get the same number of inches. And like I said, this took a lot of brain power to work on because I wasn't just following a pattern. I was kind of creating it as I went and having to make decisions. And yeah, it's been a very fun creative process, but a process that required a lot of my own mental energy. So, you know, when things were really busy at work and I'd come home feeling exhausted, this is not the project I wanted to work on. But, you know, eventually we got there. So yeah, I used two very contrasting colors, and the stitch pattern is broken seed stitch. So what you do is, and this is all worked flat. It's all worked flat, and then I came back and added the button band later. So what you do is the main color is white, and the contrast is the dark gray. And so in the white, you're basically doing stockinette stitch. So on the right side you're knitting, on the wrong side you're purling. Every other row you switch colors. So with the dark gray, you're doing knit one, purl one, and then on the other side, purl one, knit one, but you're alternating so that not all the knits are lining up in the same column and not all the purls are lining up in the same column, but they alternate. Anyway, I have it typed up on my project page for this broken seed stitch. But yeah, so I knit this flat, I knit the sleeves in the round, but yeah, it's just like the most easiest, I wouldn't call it color work, but getting this really striking pattern that looks complicated, and all it is knits and purls. Like, it's super easy. Yeah, and then I decided to go with white for the button band. I wear a lot of dark colors, and I had made a cardigan out of this dark gray mix already this year, and I didn't want it to be like all black in my wardrobe, even though I love wearing black and dark colors. I thought I'd force myself to be a little bit different. I ultimately decided to pick up stitches all along here and do 2x2 ribbing. I put in buttonholes with these buttons, and let's see if I can try to show it to you. Is that showing up? Okay. So it looks like a buffalo nickel. So it says United States of America on it and 5 cents. I just dropped. Oh yeah, I just dropped some yarn. It's not an actual nickel, it is a button, but anyway, I just thought it looked really neat. And yeah, I did a little bit of shaping here to keep the corner. So I didn't just do 2x2 ribbing around this corner. I did add increases so that I could keep the corner prominent. And that was kind of fun. Surprisingly easy. I wasn't sure if I was gonna have to rip out and do it again, but I only increased, so I kept this the same 2x2, and then I increased one stitch facing this way to just add. Anyway, I love it. It's so cool. I did an I-cord bind off for the arms and the bottom of the sweater. I didn't want to do ribbing. I didn't want it to cinch in at the bottom. I wanted to keep that very straight, flat look to it. If I were to do this again, I probably won't, but I need to keep in mind I did knit this a bit longer, so it does come down past right around my hip, like the widest part of my hip area. I should have added a few increases so it would come out a little bit, because I do have pretty wide hips. So it fits very snugly in that region at the bottom. And yeah, so I'm not going to rip it out and redo that. It's not needed, but for next time, just to keep the fit more loose and jacket style, which is what I was going for with this, I would add just a few increases so that these bottom few inches kind of come out just a little bit, not a huge flare, just enough to keep the positive ease that's up here continuing down into the part of my body where I get a little bit wider. And that's just, you know, womanly curves that I have, and I'm not ashamed of them. I just, you know, my body's not straight and I knit this to just be straight. So I should have added a few increases, that's all. Yeah. I am so happy this is finished. This used up 1,097 yards from my stash, which totally helps with my goal of trying to use more than what I bring in. And I have a finished garment. And that's all I finished in the month of November. So a pair of socks and a cardigan, which is a great amount, so I'm not sad about it. I do have works in progress, one of which is the continuation of my other broken seed stitch 2-color sweater. This one is in fingering weight yarn, and I'm not doing a cardigan. I am knitting this in the round and creating a pullover. So the yarn that I'm using is Knit Picks palette. The green is called Aurora Heather, and the brown is called Hair Heather, hair like a rabbit. This time the dark color is the main color, so the green, and the contrast, or the contrast color, second color, is the lighter one. So the green is all knit, and then with the tan, the brown color, knits and purls alternating. I did 1x1 rib for the collar, and I did finish the body, and I did 1x1 ribbing at the bottom. I love the length, I love the fit of it so far. I did give this another light wet block, so I did not submerge it in water and let it really soak it up. I laid it out and I used a spray bottle and I sprayed water on it, so I would consider that a light blocking because I didn't like totally completely wet all of the fibers, just kind of the outside layer. And I have picked up one of the sleeves. You can see I haven't gotten very far. Again, I'm having to make decisions. So once I had decided to do 1x1 ribbing up here, I knew I wanted 1x1 on the bottom, so that decision was already made. That was easy. Now I'm having to decide how frequently to decrease. Oh, hang on. Nope, I did not drop any stitches, but I'm pretty close. Yeah, so I'm having to make those decisions. I think I've settled on a good rhythm for the sleeve decreases. I don't want this sleeve to come down and be super tight. I want it to be loose all the way and then do like a quick decrease here. So you get that like balloony puffiness, but not, I'm not keeping the same width all the way down to get a huge balloon puffiness, just a slight one. Kind of like what you see on a hoodie or commercial sweatshirt that you buy. It's got a little bit of a puff there, but not like a huge drastic one. And that's kind of the feel I'm going for here, is the fit of like a really comfy sweatshirt, but more classy and sophisticated by having this two color pattern and texture, and it's 100% wool. It's just going to be a wonderful, wonderful a warm layer to put on. But because it's out of fingering weight, it's so light. It's so light and drapey, and I love it. So I'm excited to work on this. It just hasn't been what I've been gravitating toward, especially after finishing the big cardigan, because I was like, woo, all right, something different. So I have been working on some different things, but I still want to finish this. I think this would make a good goal would be to finish this by Christmas. We'll see if that happens. So after I finished the blue Raz socks, I did need a little bit more sock knitting, so I cast on another pair that's going to be for Michael. So we've got 2x2 ribbing here. Again, I knit it cuff down, so I've got my German twisted cast on here. I'm using US size 1 needles. I've got ChowGoo needles. They're my absolute 100% favorite. I've used these so much, and the join between the cord and the metal needle is still perfection to this day. So if you're shopping for knitting needles, I, from personal experience, would 100% say ChowGoo needles are worth the money. I love them so, so much. The yarn that I'm using is a self-striping yarn. So from plain to self-striping. See, I need to swap it up a little bit. So this is not Felici, this is Spellicini. And it's called that because the stripes are like micro stripes. They're smaller than the stripes in Felici yarn. This colorway is called Sunday Day Game. Sure. Yeah, I got it because it was on sale, and I think I was going for free shipping, and I just got enough things to get free shipping. And yeah, so this is 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon, the same blend as Felici yarn. It's just that the stripes are thinner, so they call it Pellicini. Yeah, I'm still on the first sock. I gravitate towards this when I just need something mindless. I've knit enough socks that it's not a mental chore to make decisions like how long to make the leg and what kind of heel, and it doesn't take a lot of brain power for me. So yeah, I've got some socks on the go, and we'll see how long this will take me. So the end of 2024 is fast approaching, and I was looking around my craft room this morning knowing that I was going to sit down and record for you all, and my current knitting projects were in the other room where Michael was sleeping. I didn't want to wake him up, so I was like, what else do I have in my craft room that I could work on? And I opened up a project bag. Oh, here it is. This one was stuffed full. This is a bag that I've sewn up. I put a clear plastic pocket on the front and everything. But this thing was like so bursting at the seams. It was zipped closed, and I, for the life of me, could not remember what was in here. And I opened it up, and it's got cotton yarn in it. Sugar and cream. I had bought on sale. Joann's had you know, those fold-up tables, and they had all kinds of boxes on top of it set up in one of those main aisles of just discount yarn. And I can't resist a yard sale style table of discounted items. I can't resist. I have to look. I have to. So I had picked up cotton yarn. So these two dishcloths I had already knit up. Originally I had knit a towel out of this yarn using like Granny's favorite dishcloth pattern where you knit on the bias, and then I had modified it so I could get straight edges to make a rectangle. And when I finished it, the thing would not lay straight. It was knit on the bias, so it wanted to like lean one way, and I just felt the towel looked like total crap. I didn't like it, so I ripped it out and I said, fine, I'm gonna make dishcloths. I'm not gonna knit towels because they turn out like crap for some reason. They just don't look nice. They don't have straight edges. They look like wonky shapes and it bothers me. But dishcloths, for some reason, making squares seems to work out fine. I don't get it, but whatever. And it's not like we couldn't use more dishcloths. So these I'm not knitting on the bias. I have a love-hate relationship with Granny's favorite dishcloth. I love it because it's so simple and clever, but the edges are almost never straight and it annoys me. So I cast on and then knit straight rows. So this is seed stitch, so alternating knits and purls, and what's nice is it's completely reversible and it's got some texture for scrubbing. This one is moss stitch, so again knit one, purl one, but you maintain that pattern for 2 rows, then alternate, maintain that pattern for 2 rows, then alternate. So it looks like that, and this is reversible. Again, good texture. Obviously I haven't woven in the ends, but these were tucked in the bag. And then I had this big ball of when I ripped out the towel, and I put it in my yarnet. Just barely fit in there, which is great. I love my yarnet. It's a good tool. And so I cast this on this morning. I cast on another one, but this time I thought I would do broken seed stitch because this pattern has consumed my life. So the black and white cardigan is broken seed stitch, the pullover green and brown sweater is broken seed stitch, and now I'm doing a dishcloth in broken seed stitch. But honestly, I'm doing this because I wanted to see what it looked like in one color. I was just really curious. So here's what the right side looks like. And in this one, it's not reversible because the back side definitely has more purl bumps. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, this was some of the new yarn that I brought in this year, was this cotton yarn. And again, I'm still working toward that goal of more out than in, and I'm totally failing that goal. I'll give you an update on that in just a moment, but yeah, I was like, oh my god, I'm not counting this finished until I finish the set, and we'll see how much, whether the set will be 3 or 4 dishcloths, depending on how much yarn I have left after making this third one. If I'll weigh all the dishcloths and then see, do I have enough left to make a 4th one? If so, then 4 dishcloths will make a set, and then I'll count it as finished. If I don't have enough to make a 4th one, then I will call the set of 3 the finished set, and then save the scraps for combining with other colors to make other dishcloths or towels. If I fix my loom, I do like my woven towels, so I wouldn't mind doing that. But yeah, anyway, so I picked this back up again, and this should be really quick to wrap up. It's also almost Advent season because tomorrow's December 1st, which means Advent knitting and everything begins, and I'm super excited about that. So I have a little bit of Advent stuff to talk about. But before I do, I did want to update you on my goals for the year. So I've been referencing I have a goal to use more out of my stash than what I bring in. And the way I'm measuring this is by yards. So this year, if I also count some of my hand spun projects as bringing yarn into my stash, then total yards into my stash this year has been 9,958 yards, which makes me a little sad because I didn't want to buy that much, but I have a hard time resisting some of these sales. So good job, all of you marketing people out there who you get me. You get me every time. So far, what I've used out of my stash, and I only count yards as being out of the stash if I have finished the project. So even though I have used up balls of yarn in like my pullover sweater, for example, because the sweater is not yet finished, I have not counted those yards in my yards out total. So just FYI. So far this year, yards out of all of my finished projects is 7,740 yards. I feel like the difference I have here is wrong. Hang on, let me recalculate this. Yes, it was wrong. I only subtracted the blue raz socks, and I forgot to also subtract the cardigan. Ooh, that's a big difference. So I'm currently failing this goal. I have brought in 2,218 yards more than what I've used. I want that difference to be the other way. So fingers crossed. It's still very possible for me to meet this goal this year. Another goal that I had for the year was to knit at least one garment every season out of the year. So I've had seasonal making goals. So I had a goal for winter, spring, summer, and fall. I created lists of items that I'd like to make in each of the seasons. Sometimes I made all of them, sometimes I only made a few. Some of them were fails. Some of them were successes, but just this intentional curating for a season has been a really fun exercise. And as a part of that, I wanted to finish at least one garment every season, and I have met that goal. So I knit a cardigan in the winter season, my cappuccino cardigan. I made in spring, I think I finished 2 garments. I had the Solidago in the light blue color, and then which was a nice kind of lacy t-shirt. And I also finished a really flowy throw-over cardigan that's like, I think it's 100% polyester. It is the smoothest, drapiest thing I've ever made. And then in summer, I finished my luminous tee. And for fall, I finished the black and white broken seed stitch cardigan, which I need to get finished object photos of me wearing it, not just it sitting on a hanger. But yeah, so I finished at least one garment every season. So that goal has been achieved. Yay! I almost forgot to talk about my spinning. It's been so long since I've talked about spinning. So last week Tuesday, so the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, no, not in the same week, but the prior week. What date was that? The 21st or something? We we had a half day at school. They shut us down early because of bad weather coming in to the area, a huge windstorm. I didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. We were without power at our house Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and then it came on Friday. So like three and a half days. We didn't have power at our house. At campus where I work, they didn't get power until Saturday. And then it went off again on Saturday and then back on again. And yeah, trees were down, trees fell on houses, trees fell over roads, blocking roads, trees fell all over the place. And the power company brought in people from, there were volunteers from nearby states like Idaho and Oregon, and folks coming up to help just give more human power to getting us electric power. It was just insane. So we didn't have power. Everything in our home is electric. So our heat is electric. To heat the water in the water heater is electric. Yeah, everything's electric. We have solar panels on our roof, and we generate power and pump it into the grid to offset our electric bill. Is the big impact is it reduces the cost of our bill every month by pumping power in. But when we don't have power, the panels can't pump into the grid. So if we lose access to power our home, we also lose access to pumping power into the grid. So there's that double impact that happens. So as far as our bill is concerned, if we're not using power, the fact that we're not offsetting the cost is not a big deal, but it also means the sources of power for the grid get diminished. So, I can't help power other people's homes until my home has power itself. Anyway, so it was an interesting situation to contemplate. Not that I have any say in who gets power first and stuff, but sometimes Michael and I like to have conversations about these hypothetical situations. Like, well, what do you think they're going to try to turn on power to first? And have they considered the fact that some of us have solar panels and that we could only help? And it was fun, but we have power now. It was tough to find. I couldn't do any work because pretty much everything's online. We had left our physical textbooks at work because I thought we were going to be back the very next day. I didn't think we were going to be out of school for 3.5 days. We didn't have school Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Now it's Thanksgiving break, so we don't have school Thursday or Friday. Next week is the last week of classes and then final exams. So, I mean, this was high anxiety, high stress. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And I don't have power, so I'm trying to save my phone battery in case I need to, make important phone calls if something were to happen. So I can't just be on there emailing everybody constantly and using up my battery. So it was tough. So what I did part of the time is I spun. So I was gifted. I purchased a drum carder and combs and things from a local person who had listed items on Facebook, and then she threw in a bunch of fiber. So I consider this a gift because she wouldn't accept more money for it. But I got some Rolags from Blue Barn Fiber Arts. I am not sure what the fiber content is. This just lists like the different items that they sell, which is cool. But there were 4 Rolags in here. I have spun up 3 of them, but I think you can tell, I'm pretty sure that yellow is a silk. But as far as the rest, I'm not really sure what's in here. So, but yeah, I used my treadle spinning wheel, obviously not my electric one because I didn't have power. So I was in the craft room here, opening up the curtains, even though most of the days it was cloudy and rainy and miserable. So, you know, you only get so many hours of daylight in the day, and then it's cloudy, and so it was just dark and dreary and miserable. So I tried to find something to bring me joy. So I did a little bit of spinning. So this has 2 of the Rolags on it, and then I have another bobbin on my spinning wheel sitting right there that has 1 Rolag, and then the other one is going to get added, and then I will 2-ply these together. And yeah, I did a lot of this in the dark by candlelight, so it may not be the most even spin in the world, and I'm okay with that because it just adds to the handmade-ness of the yarn. But yeah, so I did a tad bit of spinning. I needed something to didn't require a lot of brain space because I was trying to problem solve how will we finish the class. You know, the students need to get all the content they paid for with this class. This is a course in a sequence. This is a course that shows up in many sequences. So I teach math at a 2-year college, and you know, I'm teaching pre-calculus and calculus, and these are classes that, you know, you need to learn what you need to learn in this class because you'll need it for the next one. So I'm like, how do I make sure we still cover all the things they need to know? But now I just lost 3 days right before the end. It's really hard to make that stuff up. So my brain was there, just like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I needed something to do. I needed something to do with I couldn't log in and make a, you know, modify assignments or do anything because I had no power. It was like, I have to feel productive, but I need to let my brain try to problem solve what I'm going to do. And spinning worked out really nice for that. So anyway, I'm glad we're through it. We were very fortunate at our house, just small tree branches, but just, you know, down the block around the corner, someone had 2 trees fall on their house. They were inside when it happened. Everyone's okay, but they have young children, and so that was a really traumatic thing to happen. And you know, so I'm counting my blessings. We were very, very fortunate. I was watching, our property is right by a high school, so the back edge of our property is the borderline for the high school, and right on the other side of the fence is a parking lot. But they have this really large evergreen tree. I don't know what kind. It's not pine. It's got to be a kind of, I don't know if it's a spruce. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a very tall evergreen tree. And the grounds crew has let the ivy just take this thing over. And if you know anything about ivy, that stuff will kill a tree. They will put their roots inside and suck nutrients out of the tree, and it's just been growing up that thing. And I worry about it because at some point the ivy's gonna win and that tree's gonna come down, and it is so tall. If it fell in our direction, it could cut our house in half. Yeah. So I was watching that thing like a hawk during the windstorm, and she's still standing. It's okay. She swayed a little, but very much still a healthy tree, so that's good. But I was very scared. Glad it's behind us. Glad we're okay. Back to school and trying to finish up. So I wanted to save Advent stuff for the end. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I have plans to do some other videos, so this is just going to be a super quick thing. I have one more week of classes, so December 2nd through the 6th, Monday through Friday, is our last week of classes. So, just speaking in Advent season terms, that's 5 days that I won't be able to just be home knitting constantly. So kind of planning around that. The following week are final exams. So 3 days out of that week I have to be at work, giving exams and things. Then that weekend I'm flying to North Carolina. I'm going to be meeting up with my mom and my sister. We're going to be visiting my grandmother out there whose health is not amazing at the moment, and so we made plans for a trip to go see her. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but so I have some plans, and it makes sense. It's the holiday season, everyone's going to have plans, but for the past, I don't know how many years, I have 4 gnomes by Sarah Shira, Imagine Landscapes. So I think I've done the Advent mystery gnome thing 4 years now. Yeah, I have 4. I was trying to remember if I had 4 or 5. So this will be the 5th year that I'm doing it. So this morning I picked out yarns for the Advent, and I just thought I'd show you the colors really quick so that you can see. I'm not going to talk extensively about it because I'll be talking about it through Advent season. So I decided to go with this color combination. So I'm using different things from my stash. So this is leftover from a pair of shorty socks I made for myself. And the sunlight's kind of blowing it out a little bit, but it's like this almost orangey coral color. Yellow is my favorite color. And the gnomes I've made are like very red rusty colors, or teal greenish kind of colors. And so this will be a different combination. Oh, I also have one that's purple. But yeah, these two came out of a mini skein set I bought many years ago. So I've got yellow and this really nice dark gray, and I've got this orangey coral, and then of course a nice gray color for the nose and beard on the gnome. So I'm excited. I've got my yarn, my needles, I'm all set with the bag. I looked at the pattern to get the designer's advice on color choices, and yeah, the designer gives advice about like these two should contrast, and or whether they should have high contrast or low contrast, and this is the pop color, and so it's very generic, non-spoilery, and I super appreciate it. I also appreciate that she gave an example, like these are the colors I'm using, for example, and I thought that was a really nice way to help people see what you mean by high contrast versus not. And anyway, so I'm super excited because that's going to start tomorrow, and I can't wait. I also may have started some other sort of Advent knitting, and it's knitting to make an Advent calendar, which is super fun. So I was watching a video, I can't remember the name, or the person who put it together, because it's been that kind of morning. But I will put that link and information down below in the description box so you can check it out for yourself. But this person put together a video of different Advent pattern ideas. Excuse me. She included knitting, crochet, making Advent calendars, making scarves, garments, blankets, little projects versus big projects, and just I loved it. It was a very great inspirational video. So I picked out a project from there, and it's one of the first few that she talks about, and it's a pattern with 24 little colorwork mittens. It's so adorable. I also saw Angie from Yarn and Yarns. She had made these as well, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I guess I have to do it. So I have started those mittens, and they're super cute and adorable. I am modifying the colors just a smidgen because I didn't want it to be all red, white, and gray. I wanted to have red, white, and green in there. And so I'm playing around with the colors a little bit, and that's kind of fun. But anyway, I'm going to not show you the mittens, even though I'm holding 3 of them in my hands right now. But I'm going to save that for my Vlogmas episodes to share with you. So I will have Mystery Gnome knitting, and I will have Tiny Mittens advent calendar knitting, and a little bit of traveling and stuff like that to talk about. So yeah. So thanks for coming and hanging out with me. I really appreciate you all. I hope that you have a fantastic holiday season as it's coming up, the month of December. Whether you're knitting for Advent, spinning for Advent, you don't do Advents. If you're decorating, if you're hosting, if you're not hosting, you're visiting, if you're whatever you have going on, I hope that you find some way to enjoy the darkness of winter if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. I know that it's something that I struggle with, and so the holidays bring me a lot of joy. It gives me something else to focus my energy on, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, until next time, I hope that you stay safe, stay healthy, and that you enjoy your crafts, whatever they may be. Bye.